Hi, everybody. This is the self-awareness activity for the week of April 7th. Now, as always, I'm going to be reading this and I'm going to be giving you some ideas on how you can work with it. But one of the things that I do want to mention now, in case I haven't for a while, is I'm reading it to you and I'm going to tell you how I would work with it. But I deeply encourage you to decide how you want to work with it, how you will apply it to yourself. Okay? So just because I give you an example doesn't mean that's what I think you should follow. I'm just giving you an idea of how I look at the cards and then put them together in a way where the three of them become a thing together, a framework for experiencing yourself. Okay? So, the contemplation card for this work is trying versus doing. Simple. Once you take steps, action, towards a goal or intention, it ceases to be trying and becomes doing. That's interesting. I like that. Okay. Discipline. Can you see that? There we go. Discipline. This involves setting guidelines for yourself and choosing to follow through with them. It sets your task as a priority, knowing that the payoff comes from the commitment to the process and not necessarily to the outcome. Well, isn't that interesting? I never put that together with the trying versus doing. So it's the process, not the outcome, you could be considering in this. Decide now how you'd like to apply this concept to your action card or any other task that you'd like to use in this process and commit to follow through. So, interesting. I just love the way it brings the two ends together. The card that you're getting is change it up. This is your awareness activity that you're actually being asked to engage in this week, okay? While you are maintaining that sense of discipline, which is commitment to a task, and within the idea of how you're going to do it, setting it up, how you're going to do it, and then committing to do that, okay? So change it up. Today, do things differently. Change as many habits and rituals as possible. Some examples are, they sound silly, but they're really quite amazing. The chair you relax in, the direction you face when you work or eat, the time or location of coffee break or rest period, the aftershave or perfume that you use, how you answer the phone, and the food that you eat. I like to include there too, if you're traveling to work, do you want to take a different route? If you always take a shower in the morning, maybe instead you take a bath. Alter as many of these things and more, and notice how you feel, what you respond to. Does it excite you or does it make you nervous? Oh, yes. Okay. I remember the first time I did this many years ago. It's when I was still working at the university and I was in still a fairly junior position at the time. And I was working for a whole bunch of big boss librarians who thought they were really special. And they were very brilliant. But I was the dog's body of that department, and I was very intimidated by them. I was young, and I was very intimidated by them. And I remember just changing the bus route to get to work made me a nervous wreck because I didn't know if it was going to make me late. Theoretically, it shouldn't, but it was not my habit. It was not my routine. So there was always the possibility for the unknown to happen, or more likely to happen. So it really it gave me the opportunity to really understand and see where I was still really insecure, where my insecurities laid, and how I could deal with that, and how I could deal with the nervousness of it, and look at my feelings about how I was perceived in that department or how I perceived myself in that department. It was very interesting. But I think what's really fascinating here too is the trying versus doing. And this statement, that's the other thing, right? When you're looking at these, that's one of the reasons I like to show you the card, because sometimes it's in looking at the card that one line is going to jump out at you, and that's going to be the thing that makes sense to you or pulls it all together for you. For me, it's this one. Set your tasks as a priority, knowing that the payoff comes from commitment to the process and not necessarily to the outcome. Well, that brings me back to any time that I have felt self-critical around the idea of not proceeding, not doing something. Let me be more clear. I'm trying to get my website done, for example, right? Well, I'm not trying to get my website done. I am getting my website done. It's not completed. Sometimes I stall, but I was in the process, and therefore I was doing it. It was not completed, and it was being done. So I would say with this one specifically, notice anytime you find yourself look, because trying it's got a quality to it of I'm not quite succeeding, I'm not actually accomplishing anything. And I think what's beautiful about this is the reminder that as soon as you start, you are doing something. So check in with yourself. Notice how many times you have used that word trying to do something, and what that does to your energy in terms of how you perceive the task. Because for me, what it does is it stops the momentum. Whereas if I can look at that and I could say, you know what? Yeah, you were working on your website for 2 years and you were doing it incrementally as you could, and you were doing it. If I stopped at any point, or if I found myself saying to people, oh, I'm trying to get this website done, or I'm trying to do my website, it created a sense of almost not failure, but what's the word that I want? Hardship around it. And in fact, it wasn't. It was just taking time because of all the elements that had to come together for me. So I would say, look at that. Look at where you use the word trying. Look at where you think of yourself as trying instead of doing. And see, once you shift that word, how does that change your perception? How does that change your body energy? Now, in terms of the discipline, I think that it's really good too. We can apply the energy that you're being asked to embrace towards how we contemplate as well as the action itself. So when you look at this and you say, knowing that the payoff comes from the commitment to the process and not necessarily the outcome, well, my goodness, is that ever true in the case of that website I created? The process that I went through doing it was so transformative because of the way I embraced it, because of the way I communicated with the person helping me put it together, because of the attitude we had towards each other while we were doing it, and the love and the respect that we had for the delays that had to happen because of major life events that we had no control over. The whole experience of it was magnificent. So the fact that it took a longer time to do than I had anticipated, or either one of us did, it wasn't trying. We were doing it, and we were doing it beautifully. I just offer that as a concept for you to consider in terms of how you can use this as a way to reflect back on that. Okay? Now, the change it up thing, it's also saying commit to doing that. And again, these sound silly. They sound simple, but you have no idea how much it can change your view of life when suddenly you sit on the couch and you have your coffee instead of sitting at the kitchen table. Okay? All of a sudden, your entire view changes. Your perception of your space changes. And when your perception of your space changes, your sense of yourself changes. Your sense of your physicality changes. That was a huge thing for me. Just that one thing changing where I sat when I drank my coffee. Okay? So I really encourage you now to just embrace these things and see how they shift your perception of yourself. because that's what really this is all about. It's getting to understand yourself more, because as you do, then you start getting to know yourself at a deeper level and what your essential nature is rather than just what your personality is. Okay, that's it. Trying versus doing, discipline and change it up. That's the awareness activity. It seems a little bit lighter than the ones we've had in the last couple of weeks, and I think that's probably good because I'm sure many of you have noticed the energy's been just a little bit jaggy, a little bit exhausting. Across the board, I'm hearing it from everybody. Okay? Rest well. Rest well. Take care of yourselves. And I'll be back next week, I imagine. Take care.